Welcome back to Ithaca BJJ. Most conversations about white belts focus on mistakes and bad habits, but what about those who get it right? Today we're looking at Brandon, who has the 6 key skills of a standout white belt. Let's get started. First up, grip fighting, which is something we focus on a lot at Ithaca BJJ. Notice here how Brandon fights grips, not letting his opponent take control. He's also keeping his distance and keeping a low center of gravity. Look here how he establishes his own grips and fights off mat. You can see he's not just allowing his opponent to get a hold of him. He's actively challenging each grip and keeping that strong foundation. Here it is again. Establishing his own grip, keeping distance, and keeping a low center of gravity. We notice a pattern here. Look how close his elbows are, and his hands are close to his lapel, protecting his neck area. Look at his movement, and again, we see the exact same pattern. Look here. Establishing his own grips, keeping good distance, and maintaining a low center of gravity. Next up is defense and escapes. Look how Brandon focuses on protecting his neck against Professor Matt's attacks. Here's another example. Notice right here how he's attacking that choking arm and protecting his neck in the process. Most white belts and even some blue belts will focus on fighting the legs and the feet and leave their neck open for attack. Look here how Brandon rolls out of an ankle attack. Now remember, Brandon's only been training for 8 months, and he has no prior grappling background. He just happens to be a really good student. Here, Brian, a purple belt, catches Brandon in a triangle, and Brandon sits back, creating some distance and prevents Brian from locking in that triangle. Here's another example. So now Brian is looking for an omoplata. Now Brandon's defense isn't perfect, but he's on the right track. Now look at this escape. Nolan, the white belt on top, has been practicing his downward pressure, and he has pretty good pressure on Brandon, but Brandon has something in store for him. Look at this slick escape. Let's watch that again. Defense and escapes are key skills that a white belt should gain early. Now here, Brian is looking to pass Brandon's guard and get to side control. And Brandon hits a nice Granby roll there. And here comes that escape again. This is one of Brandon's favorites. The next key skill, knowing when to tap. Common among white belts is fighting way too long and getting themselves injured. It's important to know when to tap so that you can keep training and keep gaining skills. Next up, attacks and transitions. Here, Brandon is going for that bow and arrow choke. Now, it's not perfect, but this is something that he's been working on quite a bit. And he doesn't come in every day with some new random technique that he saw on YouTube. He has a few that he works on over and over again. Now watch here. That's me and Brandon in the middle. And Brandon's trying to take my back. And notice here how he traps my arm, which prevents me from fighting his choking arm. Great instincts, and he's been working on that for a while. Now here, it's not a perfect technique, but Brandon goes for Professor Matt's back with this crab ride. And he eventually gets there. Another one of his favorites that he's been working on for a while. And stay tuned, folks, because at the end of this video, I'm going to reveal the number one skill that every white belt must possess if they're going to become good in jiu-jitsu. Now, what's good here is how Brandon transitions from one attack to another. As he notices he's losing the back position, he transitions to north-south and goes for a north-south choke. Usually what we see with white belts and even some blue belts is they hold on to a submission long past its due date. And their opponent gets out and reverses them. Or worse, submits them. Here's another good example of proper transitioning. He's going for the back. Wes, the blue belt, gets to his side. So Brandon tries to gift wrap him. But now we see Wes moving back to his back. So Brandon transitions to a reverse Kesa. And Wes is going for something that he does often. He's going to wrap Brandon up and attempt to roll him. But watch this. Brandon catches it and he shifts his body weight to a standard side control position and applies pressure. Great job, Brandon. And he slowly transitions to that north-south position that he likes so much. Next up, positional awareness. Notice here how Brandon keeps his body low and he's extending that leg out to maintain balance as he prepares to pass Professor Matt's guard. Positional awareness is a key skill that every white belt must learn early. Notice here how he goes to pass Wes's guard, keeps good distance, and keeps that pressure down on his legs. Now here, Brandon does not have good position, which gets him swept. But watch this. He immediately establishes a better position and goes into attack mode. Here we see him looking for an X guard. It's not perfect, but again, he's still learning, and he's learning well. Now pay close attention to Brandon's body movement. Now here's an area that Brandon needs to improve. White belts, remember, 4 points of contact. Now this is where not having 4 points of contact really costs him. Look at that hand, out there all by itself. And what Brandon is attempting to do here is to get to the back, but he's not able to get there because he's not controlling that left arm. And Brandon came up to me in class the other day and says, "Hey, I love the short video about 4 points of contact. I've been working on that a lot now." And he has definitely gotten better in that area. Now here Brandon is in mount, a pretty strong mount, as he's going for this choke. And look at his head position. He's keeping that head low and maintaining intense pressure. Again, positional awareness, a key skill that every white belt should learn early on in their jiu-jitsu journey. You see that? He catches that arm and he has the beginnings of a head and arm choke. He hasn't quite figured out exactly how to get there, but he will. But just having that awareness is key. And now, the number one skill required for every white belt, being coachable. Brandon asks lots of questions, and he follows the technique as instructed. And then we'll see him 1 or 2 rows later working that technique over and over again. Folks, being coachable is the absolute number one skill in just about any endeavor. And there you have it, a white belt who gets it right. And those are the 6 key takeaways, key skills needed for white belt success. Thanks again for watching and joining Ithaca BJJ. And remember to like and subscribe.